Hey friends, I'm Chris Schufa with Chris in the Classroom, and today we need to have a talk. There's a lost art in our society. It's really something that's been fading away for quite some time. Ever since technology, social media, and these things started taking over, people have been having fewer and fewer of these things called conversations. Remember the old days when we would actually talk to someone, like using our voices over the phone, back when phones were actually used for talking to people? Or how about the good old days where we used to sit and have a conversation with someone in person, face to face? These days, it's almost weird to actually talk to someone, and it's perfectly normal to communicate electronically through text or social media, even if you're in the same room with them. There's so many people that will have people over their house to hang out, and they'll just sit around in the same room, not say a word, but they'll communicate with each other through text or social media. I know several people too that won't even be doing anything, and they'll have their phone in their hand. They'll receive a phone call, ignore it, and text the caller back saying, "What's up?" Now, I know some of you are probably sitting there right now pointing at each other, laughing, or at least picturing someone that you know because it's true. But on a more serious note, I've met several kids and even several adults who have become so used to electronic communication that talking in person or live on the phone actually gives them anxiety. They don't like to talk live, and in some cases, they don't even know how. Now, there's so many ways I can address this topic. I could talk about how having an actual conversation will affect everything in life, from finding a job to being successful in school and so many other parts of life. But you all know me and what I like to focus on. So for this lesson, we're going to look at things through the lens of conflict resolution. I'm not downplaying texting or social media. They definitely have their places, their purposes, and benefits. I mean, I use them, but there's a few things I want to address when it comes to all of this. First, have you ever noticed that people will say just about anything through text or social media posts? I mean, they really have no filter and no shame about anything that they say. That's why the whole topic of cyberbullying has become so big over the last number of years, because when people hide behind a screen, they get a false sense of bravery because there's no immediate consequences to what they're saying or doing. And since there's no immediate consequences, there's often no forethought or afterthought given to what they say or do. In other words, electronic communication allows us to get away with saying things that we would never say in a live conversation. Being in person will force everyone to be more authentic and real. We've all been in those situations where we say certain things in our mind or behind a screen, but when we actually get face to face, we freeze, we censor ourselves, and we act like the person we really are. Probably because we know that if we say certain things in person, there's going to be some consequences. Second, a big downside to electronic communication, and often the cause of so many problems between people, is that you can't always tell the tone in which something is being said. Have you ever sent an innocent text message or an email and the other person took it the wrong way? Have you ever gotten a text or an email, gotten mad about it, only to find out that you took it the wrong way? It's so difficult to tell if someone is joking or angry or sarcastic or whatever just by reading a message. But if you're in person, everyone's tone of voice is obvious. Third, when you're behind a screen, you can't see the other person's face. Facial expressions and body language are huge when it comes to communication. We all know that your words can say one thing, but your body language and your face can communicate the exact opposite. But if you're not there to see it, you can be easily fooled. And if you're in person, you can make sure that the verbal and nonverbal communication are in line, and then there won't be any mixed signals. Finally, when you communicate electronically, there's not always an immediate response or immediate feedback in a conversation. Anytime you're in a serious conversation, it's super important to be able to have that dialogue back and forth with no time wasted in between. Text and posts, it can be hours or even days until the other person responds. And who knows what's going on during that time? It can be so nerve-wracking. Talk about anxiety and strained relationships. When you can talk live, you get immediate responses and the conversation keeps moving forward. And instead of something taking hours or days to resolve, you can actually take care of it within a few minutes. I mean, it's amazing. So let's recap. Why should you have face-to-face conversations with someone rather than through text or social media? Well, it helps us to choose our words carefully, and it prevents us from saying things that probably shouldn't be said. Everyone's true tone and meaning can come across more clearly. We're able to see the other person's facial expressions and body language and their nonverbal cues, and the conversation keeps moving forward. Things get resolved so much faster. I think it's time that we get a little uncomfortable and we start having face-to-face conversations in order to resolve conflicts. Rather than trash talking on social media or text, how about actually going to the person and discussing things in person? Try it. Watch how quickly things get resolved. Well, that's it, friends. Thanks for watching, and until next time, class is dismissed.